Good morning and welcome to Stay in the Loop. Today is our virtual event on the big and little picture on virtual events. I'm Rick Stoner. I'm our Vice President of Sales and Client Strategy, leading the buildup of our virtual experiences business. We hope everybody is staying up, optimistic, and safe through some unprecedented times in our industry. It's been a trying few months, but one positive thing we see in all of this is it's forcing us as an industry to innovate, and it's challenging us to learn and become better marketing solutions providers to our organizations, and in our case, to our clients. I'm excited to share our Infinity Loop platform with our Senior Customer Experience Designer, Adam. Adam, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Rick. It's good to be here. I heard we had several hundred people logged in, so this is the closest thing to a party that I've experienced in probably 6 months.
Hey, we'll take it. So for today's Stay in the Loop keynote, we're going to discuss what we're calling the Infinity Loop, which is a strategic approach to engagement that bridges people-focused virtual experiences and an eventual safe return to face-to-face engagements. We'll explain the category, how we define the products, share strategic and tactical considerations, as well as show actual examples of some recent client work. Just a quick look at today's agenda. Before we dive into the Infinity Loop keynote itself, I'm briefly going to tour the virtual event platform and discuss the content we have for our planned sessions. That'll get you comfortable with the platform itself. Then we'll get to the good stuff and wrap with key takeaways and Q&A. Just some quick housekeeping items. Today we're presenting to DERSI clients, prospects, industry partners, would-be Exhibitor 2020 attendees, thanks to our relationship with Exhibitor Magazine. So before we dive into the fun stuff, let's get familiar with the platform itself. We're going to briefly tour the virtual event platform and more importantly, discuss our content. So in addition to addressing our sessions, I'm also going to touch on each navigation menu bar and what that contains. On the screen you're watching us on right now, there is a chat function. Please do enter your questions there. Each session will have a moderator, that is a DERSI colleague, to field your questions. That moderator for our session is producer Karina Contney, and we'll get to a few of those questions after we wrap the content of this session. We have 10 sessions split between strategic and tactical tracks, and I'd like to give everyone an idea of the topic, who's presenting it, why we're discussing it, and really what to expect. Over the last 3 months, we've fielded plenty of questions and project requests that were either strategic or tactical in nature. So we're looking to address both during our Stay in the Loop virtual event. You'll note the strategy and tactical sessions take place simultaneously. There's some choice here. So you're welcome to make a choice, navigate your content as you see fit. The platform is mobilely responsive, meaning the layout flexes to your computer screen. So what you see on your screen right now may look a little different versus what I'm presenting at the moment. First session is DERSI's virtual experience products. Andy White and I are going to take a deeper look at the virtual experience product offerings that Adam and I will walk you through just briefly this morning. And to be as pragmatic as we can, we're going to discuss how each product matches the considerations for an eventual return to face-to-face. And we're actually going to cite the state of Illinois' Restore Illinois guidelines as an example. The first tactical track session is from Julia Haas, our Director of Marketing, and she's going to address engaging your audience before and after your virtual event. One of the appeals of virtual is its versatility and longevity beyond just the live event itself. And Julia is excited to talk through that playbook, including what we did for this virtual event, Stay in the Loop. I'm going to discuss how DERSI's virtual experience services make your life easier in our next session. There's obviously the platform, the tool itself, but we also want to share the work that goes into developing the platform and why we believe it's best managed by a partner in DERSI who knows your business and your target audiences.
And then I will be joined by Pete to talk about infinity mapping, which is a workshopping process for aligning your stakeholders, identifying audience journeys for your customer experiences.
So just continuing to look at the different sessions you have available for you today, next session would be Karina. She's one of our talented event producers, again, moderating this keynote. And she's going to talk about best practices in pre-event registration, the amount of work that goes into CRM, email list exports, outbound email invitations, picking a platform or several platforms, in our case, to do it all is substantial. So if you're at all interested or accountable for that step in the process of a virtual experience, you'll certainly want to tune in. And then in the session planning for a show that may not happen, I'm going to talk about what we at Dursey have learned regarding how shows and associations go about making their decision to postpone, reschedule, or cancel a trade show or event. If nothing else, you'll learn some French as we discuss the legal term force majeure and what that means for your trade show and event schedule. And then rounding up our sessions, our last strategic track session will tackle the topic of quantifying virtual success. Myself and Charlie Weber, one of our strategic program strategists, we fielded many questions from clients asking for data that supports the marketing budget investment that goes into developing a virtual experience. So we're going to share what we've seen and what a virtual experience is able to track in terms of metrics. And then Joe Oakland, our digital services manager, he will address the topic of cost and what specific factors impact your virtual experience project budget. With virtual experiences being so new to many of our clients, we really look forward to walking through what goes into scoping a virtual experience with specific budget figures. Quick reminder again that the strategy and tactics sessions run simultaneously with one session from each track per time slot. Remember, the event schedule tab on the left-hand navigation bar is your on-demand agenda. Closing out our session will be Kyle Morris and I, and we're going to run through a live demo of several examples built within the platform that today's Stay in the Loop virtual event is built in. How we built our event today is just one option, and what you build with your target audiences could look quite different. So Kyle and I will show various uses and examples of the platform. One example to look forward to, Kyle and I will hone in on the exhibit hall feature in that demo. So we understand how associations and clients could build these and where Dursey can play a part in that process for our clients on the corporate and association side. Jumping back into the navigation bar of the platform's homepage, I did want to talk everyone through a few more features. We have a speaker directory, which is exactly what it sounds like, speakers and bios. We'll have content marketing and materials referenced in the sessions available on the resources and materials tab. So one ask Adam and I have from all of you today is the screen you're looking at now. Whether it's after our keynote, throughout your experience today, go to the feedback tab, answer your questions on the experience today. Just a few more features. The video on demand bar, all content today will be recorded and available for viewing in just a few days. So we think it'll take about 2 days to get everything uploaded and edited. So for you clients that can't make maybe every single session, feel free to come back and revisit a topic. Those videos will be there. And then lastly, an FAQ tab that just features technical support guidance. With that, I will turn it over to Adam. He's going to introduce us to the Infinity Loop and some examples of our work. Adam.
Great. Thanks, Rick. So, Infinity Loop. This is an engagement map, a customer journey. It's going to bridge people-focused online experiences today and a safe return to face-to-face engagement in the future. Let's talk about the benefits of this type of approach. First and foremost, we want to captivate the audiences that are at home today. People are spending more time at home online. Let's capture them. Second, we want to prepare for a safe, scaled return to live events. And then lastly, and for me the most exciting, is we are modeling a hybrid engagement strategy for the years to come. If we consider these three objectives at once, we can be strategic in the action that we take and hedge our bets against uncertainty.
So let's kick things off with just a quick poll. We're wondering what your company is currently focused on. Your choices, number one, are you looking to focus on captivating at-home audiences today? Number two, we're preparing for a safe and scaled return to live events. Or number three, kind of the approach of both, modeling a hybrid engagement strategy for the future. It'll be interesting to see kind of what results bring back to us. We serve clients in a number of industries, be it healthcare, tech, manufacturing, construction. And every vertical is kind of dealing with their own timeline and return to these things. So looks like results are starting to come in, and at 58%, modeling a hybrid engagement strategy for the future. About 29% preparing for a scaled return to live events, and then coming in at third, captivating at-home audiences today.
Yeah, this is great. Really exciting. I think people are starting to think more strategically about how to deal with this new world we live in.
That's good to see.
So let's get back into infinity mapping. This would be the first step on the infinity loop plan. And what we're going to do in infinity mapping is pretty simple. We want to align stakeholders and resources to a comprehensive and flexible plan. We're going to cover how to go about doing this in detail in a later session. That's Pete and I's session on infinity mapping. But basically, it's a methodical approach to strategic planning for interactive environments that we've adapted to a post-COVID engagement landscape. The next stop on the loop is going to be interactive live streams. Now, this is a really, really great way to reach your audiences in real time in lieu of face-to-face or conference engagements. Our platform for live streams, which we are demoing today, right now, in this moment, it's comprehensive. It's inclusive of bespoke white glove services, just as our in-person offering is. In fact, I want to give you a little peek behind the curtain, if we could. Rick and I are supported by the Wizard of Oz back here, who's keeping everything on track. So just want to convey to you that with the live stream platform, it's not like a Zoom meeting. It's like if your Zoom meeting was a professionally produced interactive live stream broadcast. And this can be a really effective way to stand out. Let me show you another example from a client, Accuray. This event happened when their conference Estro canceled. They were supposed to launch a product at Estro, so this was a problem, and they decided to do a live stream event to launch the product instead. In this event, they did interviews with clinicians, marketing CyberKnife, the product launch, and it is a robotic, non-surgical radiation therapy used to treat brain tumors. But what you need to know is they're able to do a really nice broadcast environment with green screen, interviews, recorded on-demand content. There's a lot of flexibility there. And that brings us to the next stop on the infinity loop journey. It's going to be virtual environments. Now, virtual environments are a really great way to activate your brand online for conferences that have gone virtual. They allow us to contextualize your story and enable your audiences to self-navigate that story online. The best part is we can utilize assets you already have to create an engagement tool that works for an upcoming conference, but also for multiple conferences. And you can use it beyond conferences, so it has a lot of legs. Moving on to the next stop, it's going to be, we have an example here of virtual environments. This is one for the European Academy of Neurology. It's marketing a gene replacement therapy for one of our clients. You will see there is a virtual hostess. There are educational materials in the download area. We have a live contact form that you can access, and the ability to present videos, animations, graphics within the virtual environment. So a really great way to activate your brand for a conference that's gone virtual. Next up, let's look at virtual journeys. So a virtual journey is like a virtual environment, but it's more long-form storytelling. So if you could imagine a virtual environment with multiple scenes, maybe multiple audience journeys, really a longer engagement time than you would expect from someone who's on a typical website. That's why the virtual journey offering is really designed more for guided presentations online or face-to-face. It's perfect for creating meaningful connections in that space between a website and a conference, where we'll have some people starting to meet in smaller groups, your salespeople able to do maybe visits, office visits, and be able to use that virtual journey tool as a conversation platform. Let me share an example of this to kind of bring it home. This is for our client Massimo. Massimo makes patient monitoring products that allow clinicians, physicians to monitor patients. We created for them a virtual operating room. And this would allow someone, a conference attendee, to go in and self-navigate, explore that environment. But then also, we are creating a complete virtual hospital with additional rooms for multiple audience groups. And that's going to work as a sales tool that lives on the sales people's tablet platform as well.
So one thing to note, the Infinity Loop, it's a strategy approach. It bridges today's virtual world with the gradual but eventual return to live events. And what Adam has discussed so far covers the things we're very much in the midst of. The rest of the Infinity Loop covers what we believe is ahead of us as a plan for a slow but steady return to live events. So before we look ahead, we're curious, what has your company been most interested in so far? One choice, three choices here. A, live stream events, very much what we're interacting with right now. B, virtual environments. And then C, virtual journeys. Again, it's going to be interesting to see where results are coming in. I think instinctually everyone said, well, how can I make my exhibit a virtual exhibit? And as the months kind of wore on and we looked to counsel our clients to be a little bit more strategic and proactive, we tried to put it in the lens of maybe an interactive environment, maybe a virtual environment that is more dynamic than a render on a website. And then as Adam walked through, a virtual journey that is much more than just a replacement of one given show. So it looks like the lead is 52% virtual environments like interactive exhibits, second being live stream events, and then third being virtual journeys. Not surprising, I think as trade shows and mass gathering conventions cancel, making it virtual is kind of the first thing that comes up. We'll continue to service those requests, but again, whether it's an interactive live stream event or virtual journeys, continue to see that moving forward too. I'll turn it back over to Adam, and he's kind of going to go through the rest of our Infinity Loop and into some of the product offerings that we see as really the future back to live events.
Thanks, Rick. I'm really grateful for this platform that we have, but I wish we could all be live and in person. And it's fun to think about what that's going to be like in the near future. So beginning with hub and spoke events, even as conferences do come back online and are coming back online, people are going to be wary of attending an event with thousands of other people. So this is an opportunity for a real paradigm shift in event marketing. Imagine, for example, an event with 1,000 attendees, but we spread it out across 10 venues. The core content for that event would be broadcast from a central hub to regional spoke events. Guests can interact with each other, their local host, and the hub in real time, and explore the recorded content online after the event. Looking a bit further into the future, let's talk about virtual briefing centers. Virtual briefing center is like a hub and spoke event. I would say it's a flavor of hub and spoke, but the hub is going to be your facility. For example, a briefing center, a research facility, maybe a manufacturing facility. You broadcast live demos and tours of your facility featuring your hero thought leaders, your special processes, your latest product innovations, whatever. And guests can attend these tours virtually online from the comfort of their own home or their office, or your local representative could host the tour in a safe location. Visitors can interact in real time with the tour guide, and you can distribute the content on demand afterwards as well, so it works both ways. The next one we're going to talk about is going to be pop-up environments. We've probably all heard of pop-up environments before, nothing new, but imagine the implications for this post-COVID landscape. We can deploy branded microenvironments to key markets or customer regions and then host those environments with your regional representatives. A great kind of intermediary step as people are starting to gather in smaller groups. The next one's going to be safe exhibits, and this is our last stop on the Infinity Loop. Thanks for taking the ride. Safe exhibits are the custom exhibit and customer experience design offering that you know Darcy for already, but with an emphasis on adhering to CDC guidelines, conference requirements, state and regional mandates, as well as social distancing best practices. So we're excited to jump back into designing exhibits with these things in mind. It's a good design challenge. That's going to be the end of the Infinity Loop. Thank you, everyone, for coming along with us. We're going to break down each of these different pieces in some of the later sessions. I want to leave you with a few key takeaways for the Infinity Loop. First, captivate the at-home audiences today. We know that people are spending more time online. One of the advantages of virtual experiences is the additional reach you get in reaching those online audiences.
Essential takeaway number 2, prepare for a scaled, safe return to live events. The road back to live events will not be a simple on switch where we return to full capacity attendance. You've seen our Infinity Loop strategy work towards a steady progressive buildup, and we're looking to use virtual as a hybrid strategy towards the eventual return to face-to-face marketing.
Exactly. And while we're doing those two things, we are also modeling a hybrid engagement strategy for the future. So this is an exciting time to be in experience design. We encourage everyone not just to think about their next event or their next trade show, whether it's going to be canceled, whether it's going to be postponed or rescheduled or virtual or hybrid. Take a step back. Think about the entirety of your event trade show schedule. How is that going to be different for at least the foreseeable future? And what can we do about it right now?
Thanks, Adam. Before we get into Q&A, just a couple quick notes on session registration for the following vMeets. You're going to see that on your left-hand navigation bar. First things first is the event schedule. Go and pick which session you want within the strategy or tactical tracks. Click register. That will bring up a confirmation window. Just lets you know that you're registered for that particular session. And then on your navigation bar on the left, in your personal agenda, the sessions that you picked will be lined up for you. You then click on that join room, and you will be in the individual, what we're calling vMeet rooms for those sessions. Thanks, everyone, for your time this morning in kicking off our Stay in the Loop virtual event. We ask everyone again to visit the feedback tab throughout the day, answer those questions on your experience. A quick plug for the next 2 sessions before we get to Q&A. On the strategy track, you'll have Andy White and I running through the Infinity Loop playbook and talking more about these products and how they could be put into use. Or you can choose the tactical track where Julia Haas, our marketing director, will discuss engaging your audiences before and after virtual experiences launches. So now let's have Karina, our moderator, and our back of house team kind of run through some of the questions you submitted in the chat window. Adam, let's take some questions. So first question we have queued up here. Trade show managers I've spoken with claim no one goes into the virtual space. Do we have metrics showing how effective these virtual spaces are? Absolutely. So first things first, to get into the details and into the weeds of the answer to that question, I would highly recommend you attend Charlie Weber and I's session on quantifying virtual success. That starts at 12:05 Central. That is in the strategic track, and it's the session just before the platform tour. Charlie and I are going to dig into specific things to measure, but then also dig into, from a software standpoint, how we go about measuring it. Things like Google Analytics, using your organization's CRM system, any marketing automation platforms your organization may have. So short answer is yes. And if you're looking for the specific answers, please do join that Quantifying Virtual Success session with Charlie and I.
That's going to be great for our next question too. What is the average time visitors spend in a virtual environment? Imagine Rick will be covering that in a little bit more detail. This is a new world, and we don't have tons of data on this, but we do have some promising insights to share. I know one client that I've worked with was able to bring through 400 people through their virtual environment, which was more than twice as much what they were expecting to get from the physical trade show presence. So that's a really promising indicator there. I don't know if you have anything to add, Rick.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think in terms of the duration, I guess number one, make sure you're measuring it, because if you don't build that in the back end during the development time, you're not going to be able to track it. But then two, Adam and I ran through a number of different ways in which you could build a virtual experience. So it really depends on what you're building. A virtual environment that is housed within a show that's gone virtual, how much time you have to captivate them when you're competing against a number of other competitors and exhibitors might be a little different than a live stream event like this one, where it's entirely controlled, versus a virtual journey like the Massimo example we shared, where really it's just one isolated experience with no competition within that platform. So I'll take the next question. What are some of the most effective exhibit booth traffic drivers? This has been the biggest challenge in terms of virtual environments and experiences. So I can share just a couple of things that I've seen us done, and Adam, feel free to jump in here. Number one is making sure that your virtual exhibit has content that is interactable. So you saw on the example that we had shared for a client in the pharmaceutical space, you're not just showing a rendering that spins, that happens to be hosted on a website. You're making it interactable. Specific point and click benchmarks where you can pop up content, whether it's copy, better yet, dynamic content like multimedia video, motion graphic animations. So the more dynamic you can make it, the better in terms of actually engaging people. And you can do that by way of repurposing existing content, or you can look at developing new content that they can't get anywhere else and add an element of exclusivity to it. Another way I'll answer that question too, and we've seen associations do this and worked with them a few times, is give attendees a reason to go into these virtual environments within the show. We've seen scavenger hunts being utilized. Maybe they're competing for a prize. We've seen integrated sponsorships where there's a social element to it. Obviously in real life, socializing is very much an aspect of what we do for face-to-face marketing that can be somewhat recreated in virtual as well. Adam, why don't you go ahead and take the next question?
Sure. How long does it take to set up these virtual environments? That's a great question. Depending on the assets and stuff that you have, I think 6 to 8 weeks is a pretty safe timeline. The Massimo Virtual Hospital example I shared earlier, we did that in 4 weeks. So that's doable, but it was pretty tight. I think that's a good guideline.
Yeah, I would say 8 weeks is a good rule of thumb. So what we're doing today, the Stay in the Loop, is a live stream event. Rule of thumb there is 8 weeks. We did it in about 6, and I could tell you it was very much a collaborative effort that required a lot of labor of love and hustle. So 8 weeks, but really, if you're looking at 1 to 2 days of content rather than maybe 3 hours, which is what we're doing today, you could be looking at a lead and development time of maybe 10 to 12 weeks. So for specific examples on just timeline building out, again, I'll point to another session we have. I'm hosting a vMeet on making your virtual experience easier and how Dursey can help. We're going to talk about things that you should be thinking of 16, 12, 8, 4 weeks out as you kind of keep an eye on that key show and try and see if it's going to cancel for this year and maybe be rescheduled.
I know we've got just under a minute.
Yeah, let's take one more question, Adam, and then we'll wrap and get into our individual sessions.
Any insight you can share
when we go to live events? All good. Any insight you can share when we go to live events on how we as exhibitors should be designing our exhibit for social distancing and safety? Adam, feel free to take the first stab at this, but I know, again,
yeah, sure, absolutely. Antimicrobial surfaces, using graphics on the ground as wayfinding to imply social distancing, doing open air offices and meeting environments instead of enclosed. There's also HEPA filters that we can use for environments. Obviously, keeping everything really clean and sanitary helps people feel safer. So we'll want to keep an eye on that as well. And then like hospitality items that are kind of grab and go. Just things to keep people kind of moving through the space, but also allowing for that engagement to take place.
Okay, thank you, Adam. We're right at time. So again, thanks everyone for joining us on our kickoff keynote. Please do go into the event schedule, take a look at what you'll be joining for strategy and tactic breakout sessions, go in your personal agenda and join us soon. Thanks everyone and have a great morning.